you can't let that discourage you, because that rejection is part of what we do.
I've had the pleasure of interviewing lots of people in the surface design industry over the last 3 years. And while I love these longer interviews where I get to really dig into a lot of questions with the artists and the agents and people that I've worked with and interviewed, I've been doing a series called Interview Gems where I pick out some of the highlights from some of these interviews. And today's interview gem is Isabel Serna of Black Lamb Studio. Isabel is a very talented illustrator who has a long resume of amazing clients. Her work is so sweet and adorable. I am such a big fan, and I definitely recommend you watch the full interview. But in this clip, we talk about having relationships with other artists and how that can benefit you in multiple ways. But we especially dig into talking about pricing your work and bouncing the idea of different prices off other artists' friends. And we talk about how we need that community support as we build our career and dig into some pricing talk. So pricing your work is a very complicated subject, but me and Isabel chat about it in this gem. So check it out and then be sure to watch the full interview when you have a little bit longer. How do you feel about, relationships with other artists? Have you ever done any collaborations? Like, do you have such an accountability group still? Like, what
I
have you seen as the
do. I
benefit?
do, and it's honestly been a huge part of just my life, not even my
Yes.
career, because as you probably know, this is a very lonely job.
Hmm.
We're just sitting here behind a computer. We almost never have even
I
this
know.
like
This is why
human
I'm like, I'm going to
interaction.
interview people because then they have to talk to me.
Exactly. So, because I mean, I was even kidding with people when the pandemic started. I was like, my life didn't change at all. Like, my
Yeah,
life
I
is
know.
exactly the same. So, yeah, it is a very lonely job. So, having a group of peers that just cheer you on, with whom you can have a conversation, and we ask each other questions, we talk about an upcoming project, how much should we charge. So it's just like a very open support group where
Oh,
we
I love it.
we all kind of understand each other because we do the same, and we also help each other kind of come up again with pricing or with terms to use for a project, based on everyone's experience. So it's so valuable. Go find
Yes.
your group, definitely,
Find your
everyone.
accountability group. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm going to try to get in on yours, but I have a few different people. I don't have like a big group, like I have my biz bestie and I have like some other, and I have lots of artist friends. Lately, I've been like, anyone who comes in my inbox, I'm like, hey, do you want to get on a chat? Like, but I need to like make it all a big official group that I can, get with because yes, I love that. And I also recommend, yeah, like any kind of accountability and that support is just so important. And I
Yeah,
love it.
just like it's a source of information, support. It's just good to have other people to talk about all the things. Like I'm really happy that you're doing what you're doing, and I see a lot of people talking openly about like pricing and
Yeah. Same.
how to price your work, or how much to get paid for this or that, because a lot of that is very taboo almost still.
Hmm.
I think a little bit less lately, but definitely it has been taboo, and it's so hard to find information online, and everything is so subjective. So when you have a group of people that are kind of at the same level, some maybe more advanced or more experienced, or some less, but kind of have all those points of view, it definitely helps a lot and gives me a lot more confidence whenever I'm quoting something or I'm talking to a potential client.
Yeah, that is so, so important. And pricing has been a big thing that is, it's such a mystery. It seems like, yeah, lately people are getting to be more open about it. And I know we were both involved in Alana and Katie Lumiere's new pricing guide that they just came out with. I will put a link in the description, but this is a great guide that they put together, which is like a ton of case. I mean, it gives suggestions of how to price your work and what to base it on and all that stuff. But also the really interesting thing, because I'm super nosy, is case studies of different
That's
artists in
amazing.
what
Yeah,
they
loved
are
it.
charging for various things. And I'm sure you got a copy of it as well. And it's so fascinating, isn't it? Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it
And
was
as
incredible.
I wrote back when I got the pricing guide, and they used it as a testimonial, so you'll see my face on the page. But I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm gonna raise my prices tomorrow. Because it's like you just honestly, I have gotten to a point. I have a couple of friends who do a lot of freelance work. Like I do mostly more freelance work than licensing. I do get work from licensing, but freelance is a big part of my income. And I have a couple of friends who are just like in the freelance grind. And I pretty much thought I had like topped out on my pricing. Like sometimes I do project, but sometimes I do hourly. And I was like, I think I'm as at the top of my hourly. And so I asked my friend, and then she told me she makes like $10 more at an hour. And I was like, oh my gosh, so there are clients out there. Like, what am I doing? So you just need someone else to tell you. Like, I mean, I feel pretty confident in general with my skills, and I like to raise my prices. But at the same time, if you think you're at the peak, you don't know until someone says, oh, actually, I made 500 extra dollars on that project. And you're like, someone will do that.
Yeah,
Let's
it's
get it.
pretty eye-opening. Yeah, and just to see that clients do have money. We sometimes cut ourselves short because, or sell ourselves short because we are thinking of clients' money with like our own pocket, and that's
Mhm.
not how it should be. If I'm frugal, that doesn't mean that our clients are going to be frugal too. Once you see the pricing that we saw on that workbook, it is eye opening to see that clients do have the budgets to pay better than what sometimes we think is fair. So
Yeah,
it's definitely an opportunity to reconsider and kind of see
push
where
yourself,
we
right? And we have
push.
to give ourselves, I think, it's really hard when you're running your own business, and especially if you're starting out and you don't have a full client load, right? You don't have work all the time. You don't want to, when someone does approach you, you don't want to like lose out on that opportunity, because you're like, oh, this is like my first or second or third client project, and I really want to get it. So I want to make sure that I'm affordable and all that stuff. But you know, I'm not really sure what the answer is for beginners. I feel like for beginners, you kind of just have to, maybe you do charge a little bit lower and you're not quite right. But like once you start to get, the thing is, I think there's a lot of designers in that like medium range that have somewhat regular client work, but they're still in that beginner mindset of entry level money. They're still feeling that scarcity because they've worked so hard. Like I know personally, I've been in this industry for a very long time, but I've worked for myself for 8 years, which I guess is a long time, but it's not as long as the time that I was, working in house. But it took me so long once I started working for myself to get enough clients that it was like regular business and I wasn't always scrambling to find work, that you still have the like post-traumatic stress from that, you know what I mean? So you don't want to like let go of that and lose what you'd have by saying, hey, actually this year my prices are going up, or whatever, and then you lose a client and then you're like, oh no, now I have to. So I feel like there's like those, when you're in the middle, you still remember how hard it was at the beginning and you don't raise your prices, and I'm just like, raise your prices, people.
For sure. For me, also pricing comes down to how bad do I want to work with the company and what's the value for me besides the money. So, for example, the testimonial I gave on the workbook was on a project or my collaboration that I did with anthropology. So, at the end of the day, it may not be a lot of money, upfront, but my name was attached to the collaboration. It wasn't like I sold the design and they were doing whatever with it. It was anthropology, or Black Thumb Studio for anthropology. So that, for me, that had
Yeah.
incredible value, and it has brought me a lot of business and a lot of exposure and a lot of recognition. So at the end of the day, you kind of, as a designer, you do have to know where you draw the line. Like, this is my, your hourly rate, and you can't go, you have to live, so you have to, you have to have that very clear. But also, there's some, for me at least, there's like a little bit of flexibility on how bad do I want to work with the client, or is it something that I really believe in. Like, I recently worked on a company, on like graphics for a local, like, Miami company that are doing just something that I really believed in. And like lettuce, they grow lettuce, and they have amazing community outreach and things like that. So of course, I understand that they don't have a huge budget, and I definitely wanted to be a part of it. I definitely wanted to help them out and make sure that their brand is cute. So I charge them maybe less than what I would have charged a large corporation. So, but that's just up to me. And that's kind of, we need to feel that power, when do we charge less, and not have the price be driven by the company, but be driven by us. Like, what do we think is fair, or what do we think, um, you know, how much, is that product worth it for us?
Yeah.
Do we even
And
want to
have to
work
be
on
willing to walk away if that means it,
Oh
which is
yeah, of
the
course.
hard bummer part at times, but like, cause we've all been there where it's like, just not, I would like to have this project cause I have time in my schedule and it seems fun, but you can't, and it's not going to work out.
And just recently, out of, I don't know, 10 quotes or proposals that I've sent, you know, more than half have been rejected, or I never even hear back.
I think
But
that means you're pricing perfectly. That's like a sign that you're doing a good job. Honestly, that's what I've heard. If everyone's saying yes, then you're pricing too low. That's my
yeah,
point.
but this job definitely comes with a lot of disappointment. Like you said, all these projects seemed amazing. I was dying to work on them. I thought, yeah, the pricing was, I wouldn't say higher than normal, but it was definitely what I considered to be fair for the size of companies and things like that. But they didn't pan out. You can't let that discourage you, because that
Yes,
rejection is part of what we do. And
totally is.
I have a very hard time like accepting rejection, and I'm a perfectionist, and I have a very low frustration threshold, I guess. But this career has definitely taught me to just accept the no's and
Mm-hmm.
put them aside and just
Mm-hmm.
keep
Mm-hmm.
going. And for every rejection also comes an opportunity, even if we don't see it right away.
In the description of all my YouTube videos, I have a link to elizabethsilver.com/fresh, which will take you to sign up for my Surface Pattern Boss Toolkit. Once you sign up, you'll get an email to confirm, and then you'll get the password to get into this toolkit, where you can find all kinds of resources, surface pattern job guide, business advice, all kinds of trend reports, plus bonus videos, and access to the archives from my newsletters, where I have all kinds of cool links and useful creative business advice that you can check out. So I hope you go down to the link and join me. I'd love to have you. And while you're at it, hit subscribe and check out more videos on my channel.